Gridiron Grind, 3 and Jimmy G. After another week. I know at the end of last week's episode we said we want to be back this week, but stuff happens. Things get changed. All my work stuff got changed, so we're here. Let's do it.
Surprise, surprise.
I mean, hand up accountability. I really felt like the Horns were going to win last week. Picked them on the show, and I know there's several people don't want me to dodge that bullet. So I'm here. I'm here to take my wounds. I thought I was very confident in the Horns, and they got their butts whipped. There's no doubt about it.
Steak sandwich, and add bacon. That's the name of this podcast, this episode. Steak sandwich, add bacon, because both your Horns and my Hogs just got hooked this last weekend.
Steak sandwich, add bacon.
Steak sandwich, add bacon.
Well, let's just get into it. I was there front and center at Texas, Georgia, DKR. First of all, great atmosphere. Aside from the trash incident, which was a little disappointing, but it also worked. So I don't know where you come down on that. But the place was electric, and it was obvious from the get-go that Georgia was very prepared and they were ready to bring it. And boy, did they bring it. They got 7 sacks. Now, I did see a write-up that only 2 was attributed to the offensive line of the 7. I think 3 was attributed to Quinn Ewers or the quarterbacks, and the other 2 was to running back or tight end. But nonetheless, the defensive line from Georgia got after the Texas offensive line. Kirby Smart was super prepared with all the high-level looks, high-level shifts, the late blitzes. Where I thought Texas would have an advantage is in the receivers versus their secondary, because their secondary giving up some big plays. I mean, I watched over and over again. The Longhorns at times couldn't get separation. And a lot of other times, though, I mean, just to be honest, Quinn Ewers was not very good in that game. And neither was Arch. Both of them missed open receivers. But watching certain plays unfold, especially on money downs, on 3rd and 4th downs, we might have certain guys open. But where Quinn was looking for his pre-snap matchups, those guys were not getting separation. And it's like Georgia kind of knew they had Sark figured out. Sark, he dialed some stuff up. We had a flea flicker early. Running back dropped it. But all in all, Texas had a good comeback. But the difference in that game, Texas 4 turnovers, and Georgia scored 17 points off those 4 turnovers. Georgia had 2 interceptions to start the game. The first 2 possessions ended in interceptions. And Texas, one of those, had great field position. Texas turned both of those turnovers into 0 points. So that was a big factor in the game. When Texas turned it over, Georgia scored. When Georgia turned it over, Texas did not. Field position was huge. The punter, I didn't realize how good the punter was from Georgia. Texas would pin Georgia back inside the 20, and the dude would punt it inside Texas on 20.
Wow.
He was an unsung hero for Georgia. He really did a great job flipping the field. Texas had terrible field position, but then Texas started turning the ball over, and there in the second quarter, Georgia just repeatedly got great field position off turnovers, made it easy. Texas defense is still good. If you look at the stats and the yards that were given up, Carson Beck threw 3 interceptions. What I watched, Carson Beck and Quinn Ewers Saturday night, neither one, if I'm an NFL team, I'm not folding for either one of those guys. They're not high level. They're not ready to start in the NFL. Let's put it that way. Neither one of them. I'm very confident in watching them live. Both defenses really had their way. Georgia had one legit drive where they went the length of the field and their offense really got the better of Texas defense. And that was the end of the 3rd quarter, beginning of the 4th quarter drive when they had to have it. It was within a touchdown, and they drove the length of the field and got it to 30-15. But all in all, hats off to Georgia. Georgia, they were the better team. They wanted it more. They were more prepared. And that's that. Georgia whipped them. And I had to sit there and watch it with my dad. And me and my dad was pretty early after the first quarter. We're like, this could get ugly. It didn't get ugly. Well, the trash incident was ugly. Didn't like.
Yeah, but I tell you, the Georgia, you and I talked about it. Georgia's defensive line and their just ability to get pressure is something. Literally like all year, Kirby Smart was like, guys, we're just going to save all the good stuff for Texas. It seemed. I mean, obviously he didn't do that, but this was a different Georgia defense than what we've seen all year. And like you said, Texas offensive line, one of the best offensive lines in the country. I mean, you had Banks was falling over. Banks is committing penalty, getting beat, and I'm going, man, what is going on down there in Austin, man? And yeah, Georgia's defense, like you said, just getting to the quarterback, getting pressure, and like you said, it seems like they knew they had a pretty solid game plan against Quinn Ewers, knew how to get his weaknesses, and like you said, Texas defense still good, and it's hard to win the game when you turn the ball over. It's even harder to win the game when your opponent's able to score off those turnovers. Like you said, 17 points off those turnovers. I mean, that's free money.
The first 17 points they scored off the turnovers, so they scored 23 in the first half. In 17 of the 23, they got those 17 points on their side of the field through the turnovers. Their first touchdown was a late cornerback blitz that sacked Ewers, made him fumble. Georgia got the ball first and goal at the 10. There's not much your defense is going to do there. So Georgia capitalized. They got 17 points right off the bat off of Texas turnovers. But they made Quinn Ewers look very uncomfortable. He was very uncomfortable. It was obvious. I mean, Sark even benched him, which I kind of thought was the right move at the time. I also thought it was the right move to put Quinn back. Second half, it was more of a, hey man, you got to regroup.
You got to figure it out. Yeah,
and you need to figure it out. And the defensive line was giving offensive line problems. Let's put Arch in. He's got the mobility with his legs, and he had a scramble. But Arch also missed a wide open guy on a 3rd down and 6. The guy was over the middle, wide open. He tried to force it into double coverage. That you needed to be a high-level quarterback to succeed against that Georgia defense. That's how good that Georgia defense was Saturday night. And Texas did not get high-level quarterback play. And that was the result. Carson Beck, he's not that good either. His 3 interceptions. It was one great defensive effort by Georgia, and then another good effort by Texas. They're just backs was against the wall on defense. Either offense did a lot. Georgia did more on offense when they needed to. But anyway, I tell you what, if that Georgia defense hadn't showed up all year, they got lit up by Alabama. I was really expecting Texas to have a big advantage in explosive plays and the receivers against the secondary. But if that Georgia team shows up here on out, that's the national champion right there is Georgia.
Yeah, I agree, because like we talked about, the difference in the game was their ability to make the quarterback uncomfortable and their ability to capitalize off turnovers. And if they're able to do that, given that offense, like you said, just couldn't ask for better field position, short of being first and goal on the 1, right? So I agree. If that team shows up, and that's the team you kind of saw a little bit in that second half Alabama, where they surged back.
That's true.
And then Alabama just shuts them down. And then you hadn't seen it again. At least that was the offense, but the Georgia defense, that's man, they, not to be funny, but they let the dogs out, and that was
they did.
Like I said, hadn't seen it all year.
Hadn't seen it all year, but they showed up under the bright lights, and it was a big win for Georgia. They had to have it. Texas got humbled a little bit. Texas now drops their first game of the season, first loss in the SEC. So we'll see where things go now. Georgia definitely looks like the best team in the SEC right now, for sure. So Georgia beats up on Texas. Tennessee gets the better of Alabama, upsetting Bama for the second time in 3 years. A lot of penalties. Milroe was terrible. A lot of bad quarterback play from high-level quarterbacks this weekend. Tell you what, Shadur Sanders is looking more and more like the best quarterback in this draft, especially with the offensive line that he's having to overcome. I think he's the most NFL ready that I've seen. And I thought that before this weekend, but it just proved it even more. Milroe had a bad game. Alabama's very undisciplined, to be honest. They create a lot of turnovers. They let Tennessee hang around, and Tennessee came back and won that game. Illinois, did you see any of the Illinois-Michigan game? Illinois had their 1920 jerseys from when Red Grange was playing for Illinois and beat Michigan. Illinois just handled Michigan. Michigan's not good. They're not ranked anymore. Illinois got a tough one against Oregon. But then LSU, I really thought Arkansas had a chance to beat LSU at home. I thought it was a great spot for Arkansas coming off a bye. LSU coming from behind overtime win over Ole Miss. But LSU gets it done there in Fayetteville. LSU beat Arkansas.
Yeah, we just, we turned the ball over early and we were playing catch up the whole time. And, Green, I don't think is 100% healthy, but, you got to play, man. You're at home, like you said, coming off a bye. You can't turn the football over. That was the difference in the Oklahoma State game, difference in the A&M game. Keep turning the ball over like that. And LSU, I heard after the game, I heard Brian Kelly describe his team this way, and it made a lot of sense to me. He said they're greater than the sum of their parts. They're playing greater than the sum of their parts. And I kind of was thinking, because I've never been real high on Brian Kelly because he can't win the big one. He's one of those guys, he's a great coach, but just can't get over that hump, right? And I think we're seeing a great coaching job. I think Brian Kelly is taking these guys again. Nobody knew how good LSU was going to be. They lose all this talent on the offensive side, Heisman Trophy winners, wide receivers. I mean, defense loses. It was Brian Kelly potential for the hot seat. I mean, he's got them at 6-1. Big matchup in College Station this weekend against A&M. But I thought we'd play a lot better against LSU. It's for the boot, but Brian Kelly had them playing. I mean, they were executing. Nussmeier was better, played better than I thought he was going to. And like I said, LSU 6-1. So yeah, hats off to him. But
won 6 in a row after losing that game to USC.
Yeah, how about that?
USC loses it again. Basically, USC loses all their away games. And of course, they lost their home game 2 weeks ago to Penn State. USC is on the struggle bus, but LSU's bounced back, won 6 in a row. Nussmeier, like you said, is playing good ball. He played well against Ole Miss 2 weeks ago. So that's going to be a big one. And speaking of big games this week, we have 5 ranked versus ranked matchups, the most we've had in a week all season. And so let's get to them. You got number 12 Notre Dame at number 24 Navy. Navy's plus 13 points. Now Notre Dame's been up and down. They had the big win over A&M to start the season. Lost at home to Northern Illinois, but then they've been playing pretty well. Navy's undefeated. And our dream of having Army-Navy undefeated, this is a big bump in the road for this. Notre Dame Navy should be a good game. Navy's ranked 24th. We'll see how it goes. Can Notre Dame defend the option?
Yeah, and like you said, this for Army and Navy, the Notre Dame game is the one that everybody talks about because that scenario, like you said, where they're undefeated and they play in the conference championship game and then turn around and play again next week for the Army-Navy game. Notre Dame was the biggest hurdle left on each of their schedules. Like you said, can Notre Dame defend the option? What Notre Dame team is going to show up? Is it going to be the Notre Dame team that's we've seen lately, or is it going to be the Notre Dame team that lost to Northern Illinois? So I've got to pick on this game later. I will be tuned in to watch this.
Then we got number 20 Illinois at number 1 Oregon. Oregon favored by 21.5. Oregon's the number 1 ranked team in the country. Illinois coming in at 20 after their ranked matchup last week against Michigan. I think Illinois is playing some great ball. We saw them watch that game together when they played Nebraska on a Friday night a couple weeks ago. They're just gritty. They're tough. They find a way to win. Oregon's got more talent. So we'll see how that game goes. I have a pick on this one as well. 21.5 is a lot of points. We'll see. Oregon struggled early, but they bounced back and won 35-0 against Purdue last week. So we'll see if they can hold on to that number 1 ranking. You got 21 Missouri at number 15 Alabama. Alabama's favored by 16.5. This is a spot where most people are thinking Alabama bounces back. I don't think Missouri's that good. They did come from behind and beat Auburn. They were down 10 and came back to 14 unanswered to beat Auburn by 4. I don't know. Typically, this is where Alabama would bounce back, and that's why you got a 16.5 spread. But there's just something off about this Alabama team.
Yeah. And this is exactly, I'm going Nick Saban's worth 14 to 17 points, right? Bob Stoops, those guys probably worth 10 to 13 points. And that's just their ability to their knowledge of the game, just who makes them who they are, what they are. Their ability to go on the fly, go, hey, here's what we're doing. We're scrapping it. We're going to run this now, whether it's on the offensive or defensive side of the ball. You're right. Something's wrong with this Alabama team. Just looks, they're undisciplined. I really like that
Yes.
observation, because I believe that is the biggest difference this year is they seem a lot more loose, like they're not playing as tight, like a kind of like speaking of the military school, right? Like just army, just soldiers marching in line, everyone moving towards the same goal in unison. That's what we're used to seeing with Alabama, and we just haven't seen a whole lot of it this year. We've seen flashes of it where they play cohesively and just jump out all over Georgia, and then we see them lose to Vanderbilt and then Tennessee now. So yeah, I've got a pick in this one too, but this one, Alabama bouncing back. Alabama better be careful, because heaven forbid Missouri figures out how to complete a forward pass. Alabama could be in trouble.
Yep. Speaking of Vanderbilt, we got this is a top 25 matchup this week. Number 5 Texas at number 25 Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt getting 18.5 at home. Texas coming off the big loss to Georgia. Texas is a senior laden team. They have good leadership because they have older players who've been around and been in Sarkisian's system a while. I would expect Texas bounces back and gets a win here. 18.5 is a lot of points because that Vanderbilt team, they're a good team. Now, they struggled last week to Ball State, but I'm going to go out on a limb and say they were preparing for Texas for 2 weeks. They probably took Ball State for granted a little bit, and they just took 2 weeks to get ready for Texas. Because even if they lost to Ball State last week, it really wouldn't have mattered in the grand scheme of things if they beat Texas this week. So they took a chance. I'm guessing, but I'm assuming they prepared for Texas for 2 weeks. So they're going to be ready to go, getting 18.5. And one thing, Vanderbilt is top 10 in time of possession. And that's another thing. Yep. Texas, I can't tell you the last time Texas, as a Texas fan, I don't know when the last time we had to defend a triple option team. Now, it's triple option out of the shotgun pistol, but it's still a power triple option with the ability to throw it. And that Diego Pavia, he's a gamer. He's a gamer. This is going to be a tough matchup for Texas. This is not the game you want to bounce back on the road after losing, getting all up for that Georgia game, losing, and having to find your footing here. Get right game. This is a tough get right game for Texas. Quinn Ewers has got to be better. And one thing, the Texas run game really struggled against Georgia, and it really hasn't been great all season. So it's going to be a tough matchup for Texas. It's not a great spot for Texas. First road SEC game, and Vanderbilt already has a win over a top 5 team earlier this year against Alabama at home. This could be upset alert city.
Yeah, and this isn't going to be Vanderbilt of old as far as atmosphere. This is Nash Vegas. Like you said, they were hyped and ready all game for Alabama. They're going to look to repeat. And if I'm Sark and Texas, I'm taking Quinn Ewers, and I'm just going, dude, you got to figure it out. Like this is, I feel like Sark is a good enough coach, and Ewers is mature enough to get it done. And this is kind of what this is, we talk about it with the freshman quarterbacks. We've talked about this year, getting that first loss. How do you respond? You'd love to go undefeated, but I can tell you, Nick Saban, how many undefeated national title teams did he have versus how many with one loss? So yeah. He'd rather take the loss than
of the 7 national championships. I think only had 2 of the 7 were
undefeated. Yeah, exactly. So I think Texas needed that, because now they've got something to work on. They've shown their weaknesses, and it's not like they got their weaknesses shown to them by a Northern Illinois, like we talk about Notre Dame. It was Georgia, a team that you're going to face again. Northern Illinois beats you. You go, man, okay, we really got problems because we're going to play teams with better athletes. We're going to play better coached, better everything. Okay, so Georgia beats you. You're going, okay, this is one of the top teams in the country. They really showed us how top-tier talent is going to expose us, both offensively and defensively. So if I'm Sark, I'm kind of shaking. I'm getting Quinn and going, buddy, you got to wake up. Like, hey, you know what? You played bad against OU, but we won as a unit, and then, hey, we shake it off and go forward. But now it's cost us, a loss. you got to get your head right back on right, and we got to move forward with this. And like you said, this is a game that Texas is going to have to take just as serious as the Georgia game,
Yep.
just as serious as the OU game. Really, every game for the rest of the schedule for Texas, Texas is going to have to take. You're going to get everybody's A game.
Yep.
You're the Super Bowl each week. So,
To
yeah,
me,
and it's on the road. So,
on the road, to me, it all boils
Can't
down. I think the time of possession is a big thing for Vanderbilt. Can Texas stop the run and force 3 and outs and get the ball back? Because how they beat Alabama ran 45 plays. That's it. That's all they ran that whole game against Vanderbilt. And that was by design. You got to get Vanderbilt off the field. They've got a system on offense where they're pretty good and they're hard to defend. They still don't have the guys on defense. Okay. They're going to give up some points. And Texas, like I said, offense hasn't looked great the last couple weeks. Maybe Quinn Ewers is still a little hurt from the ab straining that he had. Maybe not. I don't know. But Vanderbilt doesn't quite have the dudes. They play hard. They're well coached. They just don't quite have the athletes on defense, but they have a great offense of system, and they execute it really well. I think this game comes down to can Texas stop the triple option and get Vanderbilt off the field and control the game? You don't want Vanderbilt to control this game because if they do, it could be a tough one. That leads us to the game, probably the game of the week. The top two teams in the SEC, both
Arkansas,
undefeated.
Mississippi State.
Well, just a game that's happening a little further south of that, south and to the west of that. Number 8
Okay.
LSU at number 14 Texas A&M.
My bad.
Both teams,
yeah, you're right.
Lost their first game of the season and have won 6 in a row. Number 8 LSU at number 14 Texas A&M. A&M's favored by 2.5 at this time. I don't know what to expect in this game. LSU, like I said, they've played well. Garrett Nussmeier's playing well. Texas A&M offense struggled early in the season, but after Connor Wegman came back, he looked great against Missouri. A&M looked great against Missouri. They struggled a little bit against Mississippi State, but Mississippi State's playing good ball. Jeff Lebby's actually coaching up, getting a lot out of that team. And it's a road SEC win, so if I'm A&M, I take that for what it is, and I move on. Be glad I got a 10-point conference road win. So 8 LSU at Texas A&M. What Connor Wegman are we going to see? I really don't. I don't know if I had to pick this game. I don't know. I guess A&M gets the advantage because they're at home. They're favored by 2.5. What do you think, LSU at Texas A&M for first place in the SEC?
Man, I tell you, if you would have said these would be the two teams battling out for first,
Week 9,
outside of those fan bases, you would have you'd be a rich man right now. This game is always exciting, Trey. They had a 7 overtime game a few years ago, albeit with the new finagled overtime rule about got to go for 2. So I put an asterisk next to it because I'm a little partial to 7 overtime game.
I think that was the last overtime game. That's what changed the rule. The next season,
you're right.
changed the rule.
You're exactly right.
That was the last time we had a real.
The knee was down. The knee was down.
The knee was down about a yard short of the first down, but no one changed it. When was that? That was like in 2018.
It's Kellen Mond. Mond was there. But yeah, I mean, so this game's always exciting, and it's in College Station. They're going to be hyped. They're going to be ready. A&M, I think A&M's playing above their means too. I mean, this is like you said, when you lose Connor Wegman, and I can't even remember the backup's name. He did not play. He did not play that well, but he played good enough. Keep A&M in the hunt, and now you've got a guy. You've got your Wegman back. Defense is playing good. And like we talked about earlier on the other side, Brian Kelly, great coaching job this year. What are they going to be, or what are they going to get? Who are they going to be based on what they've got back? And like I said, I'm pretty excited to watch this. Like
it's going to be a great game.
I think so too. And there's a lot on the line.
Yep.
You've got Elko versus, Brian Kelly. Sorry, I almost sneezed. I think this is going to be a great game. Both coaches going at it. Elko's a defensive guy. We're going to see. We'll see how good Garrett Nussmeier looks. If he looks as good as he did against Arkansas, as good as he's looked kind of since their first loss, the last couple games, this could be, like I said, we could have fireworks in this one.
I see this being a last possession game. Like somebody's going to have a lead, other team's going to have the ball at the end of the game for a chance to win. I anticipate this being a great game. And gun to my head, I don't know who I'd pick. I can see it going either way. I think it's going to be a great game, and I am excited to watch this game because I'm excited to learn more about each one of these teams. You know, this is probably the best opponent each one has played since that first loss. Maybe not. I mean, LSU did beat Ole Miss at home. That was a good spot for LSU. But A&M, this is the best team they've played since they lost to Notre Dame.
I agree.
And I think it's going to be a really good game.
Big test. Big test. I'm excited.
All right. Moving to the NFL. Let's talk Dallas Cowboys. Lots happening with the boys. They're off a bye. They go to San Francisco to play our old nemesis, 49ers, on Sunday Night Football. 49ers favored by 4. Cowboys, there's 2 ways to look at it. It's been rough, 3-3. Okay. It was a huge team win against the Steelers, but then you come back and just get smoked by the Lions going to the bye. But you're only a game and a half out of first place. The Commanders lost last week. Eagles haven't looked great. They got a tough one on the road against the Bengals. But then there's problems with, have you heard Jerry Jones criticizing McCarthy's play calling? He criticized McCarthy's play calling this week on his radio show. And McCarthy came out earlier and said he didn't agree with what Jerry Jones said. Some infighting there. I think Jerry Jones might be setting it up for the old firing of Mike McCarthy if this thing goes south. Seems like some infighting. We're not on the same page. This is kind of a big game for the Cowboys because San Francisco's struggling. They're 3-4 already. They got a lot of receivers out. McCaffrey's probably still out. Brandon Ayuk's out for the season. Kittle's banged up. Deebo Samuel's in the hospital. I think he's out now. He's questionable. They got a lot of weapons out. I mean, this is off a bye. This is a big game for the Cowboys. If they can find a way to win, they're right back in the thick of it.
I agree. I think this is a bigger game for the Cowboys and the 49ers because the 49ers have the injury bug excuse, and Brock Purdy, this is going to be probably his most important game as quarterback at San Francisco. You're going to learn a lot about Brock Purdy because he has all these weapons out. Okay, so how good of a game, how much of it is Brock Purdy? How much of it is the weapons around Brock Purdy? And we talk about it. It's like Super Bowls have been won with quarterbacks that are not the most talented. They're just system guys and they don't turn the ball over. They get it done and they got a great defense. And if you're San Francisco, you're going, okay, well, we've got everybody's injured. So if we lose, okay. If you're Dallas and you lose to the San Francisco team and you're pretty well healthy, Parsons will be back. I mean, you don't have the major stars out like San Francisco does. Dude, I'd pack it up. I'd pack it up. I would maybe make some trades at the deadline for draft capital and just move on down the road because, if we can't if we lose a close one, okay. We get blown out by a San Francisco team that's an injury away from having you or me try to suit up for them. They're just pack it up, mail it in. Let's just get draft capital, try again next year. This is a big game for Dallas.
What, 2 years ago, Cowboys traded Amari Cooper for a 5th-round pick. He was traded earlier this week for a 3rd-round pick, 2 years after we traded him for a 5th-round pick. Just a terrible trade by Jerry. I don't know.
Dude, I would have kept Amari Cooper. I don't care what he said. If he gets into it with Dak, oh, well, Dak played better. I'm going, you don't trade your
Cooper.
I'd love to have Amari Cooper. Somebody outside of CeeDee Lamb to take pressure off of him and let's get these guys the ball. But, shoulda, coulda, woulda.
Right. All right. Let's move to our picks. We've been pretty good lately. We had winning weeks. We're on a winning streak. I was 5-4 last week. Jimmy was 7-6. We're both over 500 on the season. I'm at 53%. Jimmy at 51%. I got 5 college, 3 NFL this week.
I've got 11 college.
Woo!
And 5 NFL.
All right.
I love it.
All right. We'll start. We'll go with you. You got 11 college. Let's get through them.
11 college. Illinois and Oregon, give me over 54. Illinois' defense is good. Oregon is playing really good football right now. I think Illinois is going to have to score a little more than they're used to stay with them. And I think if Illinois can't score to stay with them, I think it's a blowout. If Illinois scores to stay with them, It's going over 54. Either way, give me Illinois, Oregon over 54.
I got to play in this game as well. I'm going Illinois plus 21.5. That's a lot of points. Oregon, I expect to win this game, but 21.5 by more than 3 touchdowns is a lot. I think Illinois is a good, sound football team. I think they keep it within that number. I'll take Illinois plus 21.5.
I like it. Next one, your Horns in Nash Vegas against Vanderbilt. Give me over 52.
I like that.
I think this is going to be a bounce back game for Quinn Ewers. I think Sark, like I said, just shake him, shake the cobwebs loose, whatever. He had the break there where he's injured some games and set out, comes back, doesn't look the same against OU. We get that same Quinn Ewers against Georgia. Not this week. This week, the Texas offense looks more like itself. Vanderbilt's still going to get theirs.
Yeah.
Over 52.
All right. Game days in Bloomington, Indiana. Indiana hosting Washington. Indiana's going to be without their starting quarterback for at least this game. Curtis Rourke been having a great game. Indiana's undefeated. I think they're favored by less than a touchdown. Indiana's a good football team. Their backup got some valuable reps last week and looked pretty good. Give them a week of first-team reps. I think Indiana gets it done at home. Give me Indiana minus 6.5 at home against Washington.
Like it. BYU, UCF. BYU looking to remain undefeated, and I think they get it done. BYU is also getting points. So give me BYU plus 2. I think they win it outright, and so you're going to give me 2 points? Okay. BYU plus 2.
Yeah, they're finding a way to keep winning, also undefeated. East Carolina hosting Temple. Temple is one of the worst teams in college football. ECU is a good, scrappy, hard-nosed team. I think at home, ECU wins by at least a touchdown. Give me East Carolina minus 7 hosting Temple.
Like it. Notre Dame and Navy. Got to keep this one. Navy's got to win this one to keep the streak alive. Give me Navy plus 13. I hope they win. I don't know if they'll win, but I don't think they lose by 2 touchdowns or more. So give me Navy plus 13.
UTSA at Tulsa. Tulsa, again, not a good football team. UTSA has been playing better. I like the Roadrunners to cover, road favorite. UTSA minus 8.5. I think they get it done against Tulsa.
I like it. Arkansas, Mississippi State. We're in Starkville. I think Arkansas is not playing well right now. We're too up and down. Mississippi State, they're tracking up, but I think we just have a better team, just better athletes, better players. Arkansas minus 6. I think we win this by a touchdown or more.
All right, my last college one, another road favorite, SMU at Duke. Duke is what, 6-1 somehow.
Mm-hmm.
And they've lucked into a couple wins. SMU's undefeated in conference play. SMU's only loss was at BYU. I think SMU is very explosive, and I just think they outscored Duke by quite a bit. Give me SMU minus 11.5 at Duke.
I like that. Same game. Give me the over 48. It's just not enough points for SMU. And like you said, Duke, Malik Murphy, your old quarterback, he's got them rolling over there. Just not enough points, man. Give me over 48, SMU Duke. LSU and A&M. Game I'm excited to watch in College Station. This game's always excited. Give me LSU plus 3. I think this does come down to a last possession game, and I think the field goal to win it by either team is only going to put them up maybe 1 or 2. So I think LSU covers either way. LSU plus 3. Boise State, UNLV. Give me Boise State minus 3.
On Friday night, too.
Yeah. Jainty is the he's my Heisman Trophy winner. The guy is unreal. And Boise State minus 3. Give it to me. I think Boise State wins this one pretty handily. Louisville, Boston College. Give me over 53. I think Louisville is going to put up some points. Boston College at home is always tough to play. 53, I don't think it's enough. Give me over 53, Louisville and BC. And my last one is Mizzou at Bama. Bama, like you said, 17.5 or 16.5 point favorites. Doesn't seem right, but I think what doesn't seem right is the total. Give me over 51, Mizzou and Bama.
All right. It's over 51.
Yep.
It's a good bet. Good bet. Okay. All right. And how many NFL bets you got?
5.
All right. I got 3. We'll let you start with your first one.
Vikings and Rams on Thursday night. Give me Vikings minus 3. The Rams are trying to sell. Rams got injury bugs. The Vikings right now are hot. Give me Vikings -3.
Same bet. I like the Vikings -3. I think they played a close game with the Lions. I think they bounced back, short week. Like you said, Rams are depleted with injuries. I like the Vikings -3 on Thursday night.
Cowboys 49ers. Give me Cowboys +4. We've got to do this, right? Like,
yes.
If we lose, it's got to be close. We win, +4's just fine. So give me Cowboys +4. Because we've got to, right? This has got to be the one. Got to.
Bengals hosting the Eagles. Bengals -2.5. I'll take it. Bengals are playing great football. Philadelphia's up and down. Of course, they beat up on the Giants last week, but that's the Giants. I think the Bengals get this done at home. I'll take the Bengals -2.5 against the Eagles.
I like it. Jets and Patriots. Give me under 41. Dude, the Jets, I just don't think it matters. Their defense won. Their defense, they fire Saleh. Well, their defenses look like crap. Good thing for them is the Patriots offensively are crap. I think that's just going to be their trade and punts. I don't know if the Patriots will be able to score on them. I don't think the Jets offense, Rodgers a little banged up. Give me under 41. Just one underachieving team and one really bad team.
All right, I got another under. Packers, Jaguars, under 50. Packers got one of the best defense in the league. I think they're top 3 defense. I think they shut the Jaguars down. Not a close game. Give me Packers, Jaguars, under 50.
Same game, Packers -4 for exactly the reason you said. The Jaguars look like crap. I don't know what their deal is. But yeah, Packers -4. I think Packers get this one big. Last one, Bills, Seahawks. Give me Bills -3. Tell you what, Amari Cooper, golly, did you see Shakir have to tell him the route to run? Yes. And then he's wide open for it and throws the touchdown. I'm just like, it's just going to be too much Buffalo. Not enough Seattle. Buffalo -3.
All right, here's our rundown of our picks. We'll start with Jimmy. College, Illinois, Oregon over 54. Texas, Vanderbilt over 52. BYU +2. Navy +13. Arkansas -6. SMU, Duke over 48. LSU +3. Boise State -3 on Friday night. Also, Louisville, BC over 53. Missouri, Alabama over 51. NFL, Jimmy's got Vikings -3. Cowboys +4. Jets, Patriots under 41, Packers -4, Bills -3. Myself, I got Indiana -6.5, East Carolina -7, Illinois +21.5, UTSA -8.5, SMU -11.5. NFL, my bets are Thursday night, Vikings -3, Bengals -2.5, Packers, Jaguars under 50. That's our show. Like, comment, subscribe, YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and we'll be back next week. Let's have a great week of football and win some bets.
Let's go.
All right, Jimmy. We'll see you next week. See you, buddy.
All right, buddy. See you.